Hello, this is Doe Wilkerson back to you with old school boxing talk. Okay, we had a big week of boxing, oddly enough. From over across the pond, Tank Davis. He was a couple ounces overweight. At first, took him 3 times to get down 130 pounds. He then went in there and took care of business and destroyed his opponent in spectacular fashion. Um, so that was one of the big fights that we had this week. Also, it was like a big Saturday night of boxing, man. It was like, oh my God, last night was just like a big night of fights. Let me see. Then we had the rest of the card on Showtime, where we had Gary Russell Jr. return and make his second defense of his WBC featherweight title with a spectacular 7th-round stoppage. And Andre Durrell in an IBF eliminator, the winner to receive a shot at James DeGale. Durrell, for the second time in his career, got hit after the bell and was knocked out, and the gentleman was disqualified. So for the second time, the first time it happened was against Arthur Abraham in the Super 6. Now, here's my problem with this. One of the instructions you're given as a fighter is to protect yourself at all times. Protect yourselves at all times. That means you protect yourselves at all times. The first time it happened, he was on the ground, and I'll give that one a pass. This one here, I'm sorry. Durrell should have been protecting himself. He was in the corner, exchanging blows. When you're in a firefight, you keep fire. You do what you do. Punches land, the bell rang, and the next shot, there was one shot, okay. Then the second shot, it was after the bell. But had Durrell not just been standing there and lollygagging, he would have been able to maybe absorb the shot and or block said punch, and he would protect himself at all times. You're in an exchange. Anytime you're in an exchange, 10 seconds left in the round, you're firing, he's firing. You can't just relax because you hear the little click, 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 and think, okay, 10, 9, 8, you calm down your head. You are still throwing punches, and he's still throwing punches. You have to defend yourself. You have to protect yourself at all times. Had Andre Durrell been doing that, yes, maybe the kid gets a point deduction, because Durrell was winning the damn fight. So I'm not going to say he did this as a punk way out. But I'm just saying that had he done it the right way and protect himself at all times, he doesn't get knocked the fuck out. And he, the fight goes on, he winds up winning a 12-round decision, which he was on his way to anyways. But that just bothers me, when you're in a fight, you don't just all of a sudden relax. And you're in a fight, if you're in a fight, and you're in a corner, and the guy's throwing punches, you don't just fucking relax. Even if the bell rings, you still want to be, because there's always a chance another shot's coming. So you want to be on your guard. You don't just totally relax. You relax and, okay, your hands drop, you get popped. You get what you deserved. The final instructions are protect yourselves at all times. He didn't do that. So that kind of bothered me. But it is what it is. DeGale gets the disqualification win. Yay, we move on. To the fight, a good fight. Terrence Crawford defended his title against a Dominican Republic Olympian. And Crawford made this look easy. I mean, it was easy work. He dominated this kid from start to finish. Finally, at the end of the 10th round, the kid was so battered that they said, we're not even going to send you out for the 11th round. Which was a smart move. This is a guy that fights at between 140 and 147. He's been fighting a lot at welterweight, but he's been calling out Crawford, so he came down to 140 for this fight, and he tried as he might. Crawford just shows that he's just a level above. Now there's talk that Crawford, of course, after the fight, calls out Pacquiao. He's not fighting Pacquiao. They want no parts of Pacquiao. I mean, Pacquiao wants no parts of him. I'm sorry. Let me correct that. In my opinion, Pacquiao wants no parts of that fight, so I don't see that fight happening. They've been trying to make that fight, but Pacquiao's advisor, Michael Kuntz, and Freddie Roach have already been on record saying we don't want that fight for Manny. We don't like that fight for Manny. And that's why Manny's fighting the likes of a Jeff Horn. Manny Pacquiao's not trying to fight any of these guys because, you know, Manny Pacquiao's been called out by Keith Thurman, who's now getting called out by everybody. Keith Thurman just had both his elbows operated on, so he's going to be out for the rest of the year, which is a shame, you know, because I would have liked to see Keith Thurman handle some business this year, you know, maybe take care of one of these two mandatories. What I'd like to see, honestly, what Al Heyman and PBC should do, since Keith Thurman is out, Lamont Peterson versus what the hell's his name now? Damn, I keep forgetting his name, but he's a damn good fighter. Okay, have Peterson face Porter. I'm sorry, Sean Porter. Lamont Peterson versus Sean Porter. Put their #1 rankings on the line. Let them guys fight it out, and the winner's the undisputed #1 contender for both of Thurman's belts. So when Thurman comes back, he knows who his mandatory is, so you don't have two mandatories. That would be the smart thing to do, since PBC can do that, because you have both Sean Porter and Lamont Peterson. Put that little WBA trinket on the line, both their rankings on the line, and the winner is the #1 contender for Keith Thurman. And now when Thurman comes back, he knows who he's fighting. Is it Sean Porter? Is it Lamont Peterson? Because I hate this bullshit where you have two mandatories. The same thing should be done at heavyweight. You know, you got these two guys. You got Luis Ortiz, and you got this kid from Russia who's the IBS mandatory, and Luis Ortiz WBA mandatory. You know what? Fight those two guys, fight it out. The winner is the mandatory for the unified champion. That way you don't have these two damn mandatories, because it takes them too much time. That should be the way they do. Whenever a champion holds two titles, they should have the two governing bodies should both have both their #1 contenders face each other. The winner becomes a mandatory for both those belts, and you know, then the champion can come. But the problem with these crooked governing bodies is they keep trying to find ways to strip fighters of titles. Is that they don't want a unified champion. And that's the problem with boxing. They don't want a unified champion. The governing bodies don't want a unified champion. And I feel bad for us as fans of the fight game that we can't have a unified champion, because it's not because of the fighters, it's because of the governing bodies, these crooked governing bodies that don't want it because they want all these sanction fees. I mean, that's why the WBA is WBA is the oldest of the governing bodies and the biggest lying crock of garbage out there. The WBA a couple years ago said, you know what, the WBA had 3 champions per division. They had the super champion, and they had the regular champion, and they had the interim champion. Now, okay, interim champion was like, if the champion got hurt, then this guy, the next guy will step in and fight all these other guys, you know, until the champion got healthy, and the champion will come back, fight him, boom. You know, I could see the interim championship. Then there was the regular champion, and the regular champion was to fight all these contenders so that the super champion could fight in super fights and not be bothered with all these mandatories. Then the WBA, after catching heat from most of us in the boxing community, said, okay, you know, we're going to get rid of all these. We're going to consolidate and just have one champion. And, you know, we're going to consolidate and have one champion. Okay, fine. And we all took the WBA at its word. And what do these lying people do? The first thing they do is, okay, Danny Jacobs is their regular champion. He fights Golovkin. He loses to Golovkin. Regular title should be done away with, right? Wrong. They're having a fight now between two people for the regular title. So much for consolidating these titles. They're going to keep 2 champions. They didn't have, you know, I guess they got rid of the interim, or they're trying to get rid of the interim. I don't know. But the point is, why do you need more than one champion? Forget this super champion crap. If you're the champion, you're the champion. What do people need to do is work together. If a man has more than one championship, those 2 contenders, your 2 top contenders, face each other. Bam, he becomes a champion. He becomes a mandatory challenger for 2 of those belts. If you have all 4 of them, bam, that the other 2 face each other. Then you got 2 guys. And let those 2 guys fight each other, so you have 1 mandatory contender. And the champion can then, okay, here's my mandatory, let's go take care of him and move on to other things. But these crooked asses won't give us that. But that aside, that little bit of a rant against governing bodies aside, which you'll hear me do a lot of that because I hate the governing bodies. I do. Terrence Crawford was spectacular. Calls out everybody. Manny Pacquiao calls out Manny Pacquiao. Calls out Keith Thurman. Calls out Ndongo, who holds the other 2 belts in his division. Crawford looked good. I still have a few questions. There's a few things I want to see from Crawford, but for the most part, Bud Crawford looked fantastic. And a couple of things I didn't like was when he has a guy backed up in the corners, he doesn't seem to like to stand in there and fire, because I think had he stood in there and banged with this guy on the inside when he had him backed up, he could have got him out of there legit. But it is what it is. Maybe that's not his style, but on the outside, Crawford boxed masterfully. I still have questions. I want to know what's going to happen with Crawford when he is facing someone who walked through his shots, who will push him against the rope and he has to fight his way off the ropes. Same thing with Lomachenko, who's made me very upset. Now, if you follow this channel, you know I'm a big fan of Lomachenko. And he's recently come out and said that fighting Orlando Salido is a step back. Well, here's the thing about that, Vasily Lomachenko. Orlando Salido is the only man to defeat you. So if somebody beats me, I want to have a chance to avenge that loss. Number 1. Number 2, he's your mandatory for your WBO 130-pound title. Mandatory. That's 2 reasons to make the fight. 1, because he's already beaten you, and 2, because he's your mandatory. Clean up that loss. I mean, I would like to really go out there and say, I love going out on my channel saying good things about Lomachenko. I really believe Lomachenko is one of the best fighters in the world today, but I have to hold back because in respect what everybody else is saying, because you have this guy who beat you and you're not trying to clean that up. And that bothers me. Because of the greats always want to avenge. Lennox Lewis lost twice, avenge both those losses. The greats always want to clean up a mess, clean up something. Holyfield Bo fought 3 times to clean it up. Bo was the eventual winner. But they cleaned it up. Bo beat Holyfield. Holyfield wanted to clean it up. He came back, beat Bo. Then eventually had the 3rd fight when both were way past their prime. And Bo won and cleaned that up. So Bo won the series 2-1. When you guy beats you, you want to clean that up. You want to get back. You want that rematch. You want to clean that up. Also, that was pretty much the big things this week. Now, next week we have the big fight coming from the UK for the IBF Welterweight Championship. Kell Brooks versus Errol Spence Jr., which a lot of us in the boxing community, think Errol Spence is going to win this fight. I don't know if I believe Spence will win, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as some people are saying, that Spence is going to destroy Brooks. I don't think it's going to be that easy. I've been going back now looking at some of Brooks' fights. Yes, they were lesser opponents, but I've still been looking at some of Brooks' fights, even the one against Golovkin. I think Brooks is going to give Spence some problems. I think Spence wins the fight, maybe by late stoppage and or unanimous decision, but I think he's going to have a hard time with Kell Brook. And we're going to find out some things about Earl the Truth Spence Jr. in this fight. And then, of course, then the winner of that one's going to also be in line. I mean, the winner of that one is also going to be in line to say, hey, they're going to want a piece of Keith Thurman. And they, but the welterweight division is very deep. If Keith Thurman is going to be out, what I'd like to see Al Heyman do is, if Earl Spence Jr. wins the IBF title, instead of keeping Danny Garcia on the shelf all year, hey, have Danny Garcia fight. Spence. You can put a double header together. You have Danny Garcia main event. Danny Garcia versus Earl Spence Jr. defends his title against Danny Garcia. Sean Porter and Anthony Peterson as a co-main, and that fight is going to be to determine who was Keith Thurman's unified #1 contender. Put one of the Charlo brothers. I mean, Jermell Charlo just moved to middleweight. Put him in a bout there. Make it a nice triple header. You know, don't keep these guys sitting on a shelf. You have options now. Use them. Also, put this fight on CBS. Put this triple header on CBS. You know, which would be a good touch to put put this on CBS. You know, and that would because that gives Spence some more TV time. That then that also gives Charlo some TV time and brings Danny Garcia back to TV. You know, and Peterson and Porter back to TV. Sean Porter's a TV-friendly style, so that people have seen Sean Porter versus Keith Thurman will love it. People see Danny Garcia versus versus Keith Thurman, will welcome them back. I think that's a nice triple header, and Jermell Charlo, put him in there with he's the #2 contender for the WBC title. Put him up in there with some. Put him up in there. Let him get his first middleweight fight under his belt. Put him up in there. So, and then the public that sits there and watches on free TV says, "Wow, this is the guy that Golovkin, the winner of Golovkin, Canelo have to face." You know, and let this boy get a shine. You know, you got stars, you got to create them. You know, also come up with a way to put the heavyweight champion back on TV. You know, now that he's healthy, we had Wilder go out there. He was hurt for a while, so now Wilder's healthy. Why is Wilder only fought once a year? Now Wilder should be back on TV at least 2 more times this year. If he's not going to get the Anthony Joshua fight, which he's not, Wilder should be back on TV at least 2 more times this year. Get him on TV with the Bermane-Stervain fight. After he takes care of Stervain, get him back on TV with somebody else by the end of the year. So 3 times a year. Back in the days, that's how Don King kept Larry Holmes out, because he kept Larry Holmes on TV. Didn't matter who he's fighting, but he kept him on TV. You have TV. It's now up to PBC and Al Heyman to utilize what they have. You have CBS. Get the heavyweight champion on CBS or Fox. Get him out there. Get him on TV. And that's what you have to use. You have these damn TV deals. Utilize them. Utilize them. Don't be sitting there, telling guys, sitting guys fighting once a year. That's bull. These guys have to fight more, and you have the option to do it. You can go to Fox, you can go to CBS, you can get dates, you can put cards together that people want to see, that the networks want to see, and come on, get it, and get these guys hyped up and out there. Use Showtime. You have the venues to do it. It's time to do it. So this is going to be a short one for this one. That outside of that, there's not much that really much more for me to rant about or talk about in the boxing world. Next week we got, like I said, the big fight next week is Spence versus Brooks. So maybe I'll be back to do one next week, or maybe I'll be back the week after. I don't know. I'll try to get back next week. I don't promise anything, but we'll see what we can do now. And until next, this is Doe Wilson signing out.